All right, our speaker today is somebody who is an integral part of our community and is just really come into her own as a presenter and somebody who has a really special message for each of us. And that's Ethel Tink Landers.
Thank you, Brian. Am I on, everybody? Yay! I'm on. And you let your mama know, Carol. No, it's not Carol. It was Angela. Let mama know there's a lot of great people at Sunrise Terrace. No, we've got several in the room. So she's going to be welcomed with open arms. So I'm so glad you're here. My question for each of you, what is your intention? What is your intention? You know, earlier Brian mentioned gratitude. And for the last 4.5, almost 5 years now, I've lived at Sunrise Terrace. And when I ended up moving in there, I said, God, I want to be an instrument. I want to be a conduit of good, whatever that looks like. I didn't know I was setting an intention, but I think that's what it was. I said, just let your love flow to and through me, whatever that looks like. And yet I really didn't label it intention, but I can tell you, every morning I would get up, actually before I got up, I'd lay there and I'd count my blessings, at least 3 of them. Because I could stay in bed till noon if I was just going to count my blessings. Maybe later, maybe. And as a teenager, I would have taken myself up on that. But as an adult, there were things to do and I would count my blessings. But intention. So when Brian asked me to speak again, I thought, well, the theme is intention for this month. What does that mean spiritually? What does it mean spiritually? And so I really take these chances to speak as an opportunity to grow individually. And just as Ruth did, when you take on, a task, whether it's giving an inspirational message or the full talk, you really grow yourself. You really do. That beauty comes through you and you grow. It's amazing. And so I started researching intention and what it means spiritually. And some of you may have heard this, but I came across a Native American parable. And I'll see if I can do it without using my notes. A grandfather and his grandson were sitting beside a beautiful river. And they're enjoying the afternoon. And the grandfather takes a deep breath and looks down at his precious grandson and says, son, you're growing up and you're going to soon become a man. And there's something I need to tell you. Every day of my adult life, there's been a struggle inside me. It's a fight that's ongoing. And it's between two wolves. And one wolf is aggressive and angry and demanding. And it's just as bad as it can possibly be. It's so aggressive. And the other wolf is gentle and it's kind and it's loving and it's tender. And this battle goes on every day. And the little boy with his big wide eyes go, Grandfather, which wolf will win? And the grandfather says, the one I feed. The one I feed. And that's what intention is. Speaking of youth, I love the fact that our second principle was shared today. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. I know that. And I know when each one of us, those of us here in the Victorian, those of us online, each one of us, when we were born, we came straight from God. Now, whether you're comfortable with the word God or not, the actual term doesn't really matter. You might call Great Spirit, you might say universe, source energy, but we came right from there. And we were filled with that positivity, filled with that energy, filled with that knowing. We were. And as little kids, we're plugged in. Do you remember seeing things when you were little? Do you remember And there might be a shadow that would go across. There was something in your room. You could hear voices. You had an imaginary playmate. And we weren't afraid at that time until we told our parents. And they said, well, don't be afraid. Well, I wasn't until you said that. And we learned to be afraid of that. And we learned not to tune into that spiritual side. Just society and the world kind of takes us away from our source. But I've shared with you several times that I was adopted by an amazing couple, Fanny and Pep. And we were in Indiana initially, and then we moved to Oregon. And what I haven't shared is when I was 8 years old, we moved to California, and we moved to Billy Goat Acres. Well, that was the name we called it. It was in Bakersfield. And it was a poor white community, basically. I don't remember any people of color being there. It was basically, I think, a community established during the Dust Bowl time, and the people migrated west. But we grew up there, and my cousin Marcia was there, and so we were like sisters. It was great for me being an only child. And my dad had moved us there because his brother's wife was ill. So my Aunt Marge was not well, and she'd been diagnosed with cancer. So we moved from a pretty nice house in Oregon. I'm sure it was a rental, but it was an Oregon, Portland type home with stairs and basements and all sorts of fun things for a kid. And we moved to this little shotgun house. You know what a shotgun house is? One room goes to the next room, goes to the next room. And in Billy Goat Acres, it was just down the street from my uncle's home, but in Billy Goat Acres, we didn't have streetlights. We didn't have sidewalks. Now, there was a little bit of pavement on the road, but I don't remember too much. I remember a lot of dirt. And my grandma Ethel, who would come out and stay with us once a year, she would fuss about that dirt all over me, and that she'd call it alkali dirt. Have you ever heard that term? I have no idea why it was called that. But anyway, she would fuss about that. But my cousin Marcia and I, speaking about children have the intention of being in the moment. And we played hard in that neighborhood. All the kids would come out, and if one of us could find a broken broom handle and the other one find an old ratty softball, well, we had a softball game. And we'd take over that street because there were hardly any cars coming down there. And they better know where they're going if they did, because we had a canal right at the end of the street. There's no signs there, there's the canal. And in those days, there's no fences, there was just a canal. And the cool thing, Marcia and I, especially in the fall, when it got a little cooler and the water level dropped, we'd get down in there and search for crawdads. Did anybody search for crawdads when you were a kid? Art did. Did Nancy? Did you? Yeah, look at Joe. Look, crawdads. Do you remember how those little spooky things, they can give you a good pinch? But it's interesting when you go back in your memory. I can still remember what that dirt smelled like because it had been under the water for so long, and those little creatures make tunnels in there. And at least one time, cousin Marcia and I caught enough of those little creatures, even though you remember their pinchers go like this. I mean, they're going to get you. We caught enough that Aunt Marge, she did whatever you do to creatures to cook them. And we had lunch. She fried those little critters. There's not much meat on there. You could really lose weight. The other thing we did as kids, though, in Bakersfield, I don't know, have any of you lived in Bakersfield or the Valley? The heat. Yeah, okay, the heat is pretty intense in the summer. Okay, you work there, Carol. Well, the heat gets intense. So for little kids who want to play all the time, our best playtime was when the sun was going down. And remember, there's no street lights. We would have a porch light once in a while. We'd all get together and we'd play hide and seek. And what would happen is, again, the yard, some of them had fences, but not all of them. So we could hide behind bushes and old rat-trapped cars that had run down, and there was an empty lot that had all sorts of spooky things in it. And so if you were it, you had to count to like 30, and then everybody ran and hid, and then you were searching in that dark. And you know, the parents were nearby. They'd usually be playing cards in one of the little houses here or there. But inevitably, when I was I'd be searching a little, you know, I'd be a little nervous, and I'd come up behind an old truck or something, and someone would leap out at me saying boo, and you both then would fall down in the grass, and I'd probably wet my pants. But my point in sharing all this is that as children, we had the intention of being in the moment. We knew how to be in the moment, right? And we knew how to play, and we knew how to connect with our friends. We were there with joy filling our souls. And eventually Fanny would call me in, it's time to go to bed. And I would go in, and she'd say, you know, wash your face and hands and wash those feet, because, you know, that dust would be all over, and brush your teeth. And I'd go, oh, Mom, I'm so tired. Do you remember being kid tired? Do you remember? You had all this energy right until they call you in. Well, again, my point in sharing that, of course, I have great memories of Fanny, and Richard, you helped me remember my mama, because every time I'm with you in choir, Fanny had this fabulous soprano voice. So those of you who are sopranos, it makes me remember my mama. And up into her 70s, she sang with the Masterwork Chorale. She also sang with the Son of the Pioneers on the radio back in Chicago, way before she adopted me. But so that's the intention that we share when we're children. Again, I think it wanes, because as an adult, you know, I know we were just hearing about how adults can have the intention. We set our intention to meet our life goals. And I worked for Pacific Bell as an adult, and eventually into management. And my connection to intention were business plans, you know. All right, every year we're going to increase our targets, and we're going to lower the budget, and we're going to make us get more numbers. And so those business plans and those tactics and strategies, that's what intention was for me. And true confession to Brian and to Joe. Joe's our treasurer. My biggest intention throughout my adult life has been to lose weight. Well, I have tithed more to Weight Watchers than I ever did Unity Church. I have. You know, initially, I really have. For some reason, in my adult mind, well, as long as I wrote out that check, and now all you got to do is online. You swipe your credit card, and the weight's supposed to drop off of you if you pay. The only time I was successful, I was married. I was married to a wonderful man, Gary Landers, and I'm not going to say anything negative about Gary. However, I came home from signing up for Weight Watchers one day, and I said, I have signed up for Weight Watchers before my reunion. And however he said it, here's how I took it, okay? He said something like that, you're wasting our money again. Now, he may not have said it that way. That's what I heard, right? I heard it that way, and I went. And in those days, I didn't respond. I reacted. And I kept it to myself, and I would stuff it, and I'm sure I went, you skinny little man, you. Because Gary, I don't even think today he still weighs 5 pounds more than he did in high school. I mean, the man was totally disciplined. And that's a word you rarely can attach to me, then or now. But that time, I lost 35 pounds. I hit my goal weight. I looked so fabulous at my class reunion. Oh, even the cheerleaders were looking at me. It's like, what happened to that kind of nerdy girl? Look at her, you know. So speaking of Oprah, now this is a spiritual thing. I've been watching her on YouTube. Do you ever watch her on YouTube? She has some great spiritual messages. And recently she had one, and she was reflecting back on the time she had Gary Zukav as a guest. Do you remember Gary Zukav? And he had this wonderful book that she promoted, Seed of the Soul. This is my newer copy. Mine got pretty ratty. This is the 25th anniversary version. But Oprah on YouTube, on the video she put on YouTube, hers looks like it's gone through a war. It's so dog-eared and so, tattered. But I want to make sure I share this right. She said that once she read Gary's book, she changed her entire life. She changed her entire TV show. And the reason is, she said, from that point on, her intention was to use her TV show to promote and serve the higher good. She said, my intention is to fulfill the dream of my Creator, to live to my highest calling. And that meant being a better self-observer, she said. From that point forward, Oprah had all of her TV producers, they'd come, get in a meeting to brainstorm ideas, because remember, in those days, she was having a show 5 days a week. So she'd pull everyone together, but she then told in the planning meeting, she said, I want you to bring me ideas for subjects and guests that are uplifting, enlightening, inspiring, and encouraging. In the past, it had been entertaining, and it was still to have some entertaining in there, but you can see the difference. She said she no longer created shows trying to please the ego. She set her boundaries, she plugged herself into her higher self, and she asked her producers and guests to do the same. She said, I no longer gave darkness a forum. And remember, her background was news. So in the past, she actually had the Ku Klux Klan on there. She would have the KKK on to share both sides of an issue. She said, no longer will darkness have a forum on my show. On page 113, I just want to share a quote from Gary. Are many of you familiar with this book? A few of you aren't, right? Gary says, if you choose to focus your attention on the strengths of others, on the virtues of others, on the part of others that strive for the highest, you run through your system the higher frequency currents of appreciation, acceptance, and love. Your energy and influence radiate instantaneously from soul to soul. You become an effective instrument of constructive change. If your intention is to align your personality with your soul, and if you focus your attention upon those perceptions that bring to you in each situation the highest frequency currents of energy, you then move toward authentic empowerment. And, we talk about being, again, spiritual beings having a human experience. In Gary's book, he talks about us having a personality, which is basically our human side. That's the side we show everyone. And then he talks about us having an authentic self down deep inside. Now, I thought, what if we each committed to living like that? Like we were like Oprah and having a production meeting each week, but we're doing it with our inner being, our authentic self, and our personality, our human side. And so I've started doing that. I wake up in the morning, I stay in bed, and I count my blessings, and then I say, what is my intention today? What is my intention today? And I think that's really important for each one of us to do, because we are family here. I know you guys feel it, and the more you come, you will feel it. There's connection here, there's energy here, there's power here. As Gary Zukav describes these beings, again, our personality and our inner being, our authentic self, when you get those in alignment, you are superpowered. So then set your intention. Now, your actual intention may be different for each and every one of you, because like Oscar Wilde said, be yourself, because everyone else is taken. Everyone else is already taken. You need to be your authentic self. But as Oprah says, just ask your Creator, what is your highest dream for me? The answer will come to you. Don't force it. It will come to you. Just be still. And soon in closing, I just want to share with you, I always like to share my favorite scripture from the Bible, and that's Matthew 22, 37 through 40. There is truly only one commandment, and that is to love the Lord God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and then to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now, I know a lot of you really, really well, and I know in this room, we're pretty practiced and we're on this journey of loving God, whatever you call God, Mother, Father, universe, you're on your journey. And I've seen so many of you loving your neighbor. I see the work that's done just in setting up this church every Sunday, because we don't own this space. We just lease it for this one morning, each Sunday morning. And it takes a lot of energy. The guys in the back, the guys setting up all the chairs, a lot, the people who set up out here. Sweet Nancy coordinates that, so we have coffee, so we have a space to have social time. And then there's others who tear all this down again and then vacuum the floor. We are really good neighbors within this community. But my question for you now is, how good are you at loving yourself? Because if we're to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, how do you do at loving yourself? So in closing, let's do a little meditation together, okay? I'd like you to get comfortable in your chair. Get comfortable in your chair, and I'm going to ask God just to give me the right words at the right time to touch your hearts. Let that chair hold you. Now take a breath. Close your eyes, take a breath, and feel that chair holding you. And as you sit here, or wherever you are listening to this, hear a door open in the distance. And then hear these little pitter-patter of feet. And you're sitting in your chair, and suddenly right before you is this child. This child. Oh my gosh, he or she, they're just beautiful. And they're standing there looking up at you with those big eyes. And you realize, it's me. That's little me. I was 5 years old. Look how cute I was. And your hearts connect. And so you can't help yourself. You reach down and you pick this little one up. And you put that little one on your lap. And you just put your arms around him or her and you pull that baby close to you. Oh, just feel that connection, everyone. Feel the beauty in the love and in the synchronicity between you and this little child. Oh, it's so special. And you say, let's set our intention. Let's set our intention together right here, right now, that we are going to love each other from now and through eternity. I love you, little one. And you give this little one a final hug and a kiss on top of the head. And then you set the little one back down. And you say, go ahead, go outside, be in the moment, and play hard. And as we come back together as community and as family here at Unity, that's my challenge for you today. Set your intention and let's go play hard. Thank you.